This is Titanic by David R. Slavitt. Who does not love the Titanic? If they sold passage tomorrow for that same crossing, who would not buy to go down? We all go down, mostly alone, but with crowds of people, friends, servants, well fed with music, with lights. And the world, shocked, mourns as it ought to do, and almost never does. There will be the books and movies to remind our grandchildren who we were and how we died, and give them a good cry. Not so bad, after all. The cold water is anesthetic and very quick. The cries on all sides must be a comfort. We all go, only a few first class. The speaker explains that everyone, if they had the chance, would buy a ticket to travel aboard the Titanic, even though we know it will sink. He explains that being a part of the tragedy that was the Titanic would make our death less alone, and it will make it also glorious. Being a part of this tragedy would make a person die not alone, because thousands and thousands of people died in the sinking of the Titanic. And if you were to die on the Titanic, you would have passed your last days enjoying yourself on the great Titanic with your friends, family, instead of being alone and being sick, for example, in your bed. Moreover, if one was to die on the Titanic, it would be unforgettable. Instead of just having a grave, you would have movies or books or whatever can be made about a tragedy like that. As we read the poem, we can sense that the speaker feels really alone, or is just really, really scared that he's gonna die alone. As we look at the second stanza, we the speaker says to go down, we all go down, mostly alone. And then he goes about how people are gathered together and how they are festive on the Titanic, and that's how he wants to go. He wants to be festive when his time has come. And if we look at the line 13, we also see that he says the cries on all sides must be a comfort, which which says that he's not panicking alone. He's not alone in this tragedy, which make it less scary. We could also sense that the speaker is looking forward to die, because as we look at the last stanza, the very last words of each verses is the cold, very quick, and comfort, which could mean that yes, the death is cold for the speaker, but he hopes it happens very quickly and it's gonna be comfortable for him. I found this poem to be really ironic and kind of morbid, because everyone knows that the Titanic as to be this great tragedy that happened and thousands and thousands of people died, and it's really, really sad, of course. But the speaker says that no, it's not sad. The Titanic is not sad because that's a good death. Um, you die with a lot of people. You die in a glorious way. That's how I want to go. That's how I should go. And we can also sense this irony in the last line where the speaker says, "We all go, only a few first class," which says that the Titanic is a good death, is a first class death. The way I connect to this poem is that people thought that the Titanic was invincible until it sank. But I often think that in some ways I am invincible. When you're 17, you don't think that you're about death or like being sick, but those things can happen. But if you don't think about those things, you're not gonna live your life fully. So I think that this poem is also about living every phase like like it's your last. If I was if I was to buy a ticket aboard the Titanic, even though I know it's gonna sink, I would live each day on this boat like it was my last, so I can fully experience the Titanic.